Aloha no, you're listening to DJ Ono on KTUH Honolulu 90.1 FM, Wailua 91.1 FM, channel 866, Spectrum Digital Cable, and also streaming live on KTUH.org on the World Wide Web. Again, I want to mahalo you so much for tuning in today. We have an amazing talk story for you today. We are going to be talking about Red Hill, and this really hits close to home. Why? Because it's literally in our backyard. So let's get into this talk story. I'm a transfer student from Kapi'olani Community College, where I graduated with my AA in Hawaiian Studies and a liberal arts degree. I also received a public health certificate from Kauai Community College. At Kapi'olani, I was a student congress president during the second year of the pandemic, and we worked on initiatives that range from creating safe spaces on campus, food insecurity, and social services. Here at UH Manoa, I just graduated with a BA in public health, and currently I'm a graduate student in the public administration program here at the University of Hawaiʻi at Manoa. At KTUH, I'm serving as your general manager. Again, I want to mahalo you so much for tuning in and listening with KTUH and DJ Ono. On Real Talk, I'll bring you conversations about many topics that are occurring in the islands. They will range from public health and wellness, art, social justice, with our main focus always coming back to Aloha Aina. Again, I want to introduce our first guest. We have folks here that are representing the Red Hill Registry. And so I want to introduce...
I'm Rosanna Weldon. Most people call me Sonny. I'm the director of the Red Hill Registry and a faculty member of the Office of Public Health Studies at the University of Hawaiʻi at Manoa. I have my doctorate in environmental health sciences. Do you want me to elaborate on how I came to Hawaii?
Yeah.
Okay. My husband was actually born and raised here. And so even though it took us 30 years to be able to come back to be closer to family, it was really a passion to be able to come back and raise our family here on the islands. Mm-hmm.
Aloha, my name is Ryan Milkey. I am the Director of Communications and Marketing for the Red Hill Registry. I've been working in and about Hawaii for, 25 years. I've gone back to the continent a couple of times. Now I'm back to stay. I previously worked at OHA, UH West Oahu, and elsewhere. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity for you to hear about a great program and initiative that is going to better our Hawaii.
My name is Tara Sutton, and I am here on Hawaii because my husband is active duty military. He received orders. He met me in Alaska, which is home for me. I lived there for 24 years. Fell in love, got married, and came here. Since coming here, I started taking education and started my education here at UH Manoa and got my bachelor's degrees here. And I'm now working on my master's degree. And my research area of focus is how crisis response tactics impact trust between the military and the community, because we live on the Navy waterline and we drink the contaminated water in November 2021.
I'm very fascinated about this. So I want to ask you, going back to crisis response. So I never knew that this was a field of study. Please enlighten me. Crisis response. Tell me more about it.
Well, when there's a crisis, there's always some sort of a response. And that initial act of how they're going to take care of the problem, take care of the people, the infrastructure, the environment, whatever the crisis affected. In this instance, the crisis affected human health, and it went through the water lines. So that initial response that was given by the military as to whether they took care of or didn't take care of people immediately, the kind of messaging that went out, how all of that affected the way that the community now perceives the military, or the Navy specifically in this instance, and how that affects the relationship going forward.
I'm very fascinated by this because it's looking at it from a holistic point of view. It's not just academic versus your feelings. Right. You're looking at the messaging, you're looking at the tone, you're looking at the mediums that this information is being sent out, who it's actually being sent out to.
Correct.
I want to pivot real fast, and I'm going to ask everybody the same question. Why is this conversation important to you?
This conversation is incredibly important to me for a lot of reasons. One, my husband is active duty, and so the way that the community perceives the military, it personally affects my life and my children's life and my husband's life. But beyond that, just, my undergraduate degrees, I have 3. I did anthropology, communicology, and ethnic studies. if you look at a civilization anthropologically, there's always a sect of that society who is designated with protecting the people, and you can see that in every society. But when that portion of the community causes harm, then there is kind of a chasm that gets created in that relationship, and it's critical for that to be restored if that group is going to continue to effectively protect.
Yes. So for me, anyone who's lived in Hawaii for any measure of time knows the value of the water and the land and the community and the environment and our each individual responsibility to safekeeping it. This was an opportunity for me to bring what I knew in my career to an effort that does just that.
So I want to take a different tactic, I think. When I first moved here, I pretty quickly started to become aware of the unique environmental health issues here in Hawaii, including the Red Hill water crisis. And, as I mentioned, my expertise is in environmental health, and so I study how exposures in the environment may affect people's health. The Red Hill water crisis was an unprecedented event. It exposed nearly 100,000 people to jet fuel in their drinking water. We cannot survive without our drinking water. It has to be clean. And so there was no choice but for people to drink the water initially before they knew they were even exposed. And so the other important pieces for me are that we just don't know enough. Most of the research that exists on jet fuel and health, it only considers exposure by inhalation or direct skin contact, and most of it is in men who were exposed occupationally or in the workplace, largely in the military, in fact. And so we know very little about the potential health effects of jet fuel in the general population, which would be women, children, pregnant women, older people. Sorry?
Pets.
Oh, and pets. Yes, the pets were affected as well. So one of the registry's main goals is to track the health status of those who were impacted by the Red Hill water crisis so that we can try to understand these potential long-term health effects.
I want to go back to something that you actually just really struck something with me, and it's something that you had alluded to, Tara, as well. It's regarding your husband. And so we talk about, we're seeing all these studies come out about men not communicating or their communication being very different. And so it's coming down to when they become sick. You as a the other part of that household, you found out when it's probably too late. And most people, because it's really interesting. True story, last night, one of my a thing that I love to watch that I will never admit to again. I watched 90 Day Fiancé, the European version, and so they were talking about one of the guys. He was talking about how as men he shouldn't be expressive. He shouldn't show his emotions, and that really struck me because, as you said, exposure, probably to men who could be having symptoms, never communicating about these symptoms, and then them, let's say that they don't have a spouse. There's no one there to advocate for them. They don't have anyone to communicate for them. And maybe they're no longer stationed here. And they're not making that correlation. And that really stuck out to me. Going back to who exactly it is that you're trying to find out through this study. Who are the people that you're trying to find?
We're trying to find those who were impacted by the Red Hill water crisis. People who were exposed to the jet fuel in the drinking water. Tara might have more to say on that.
Yeah, that would be people who lived on the waterline, worked on the waterline, came here and visited their family and only stayed for a day or two on the waterline. They all showered in the water. They all drank the water. As you said, you were talking about the different kinds of communication. Yes, my husband did get very sick, but a lot of service members, they're not men and they're women. So beyond just gender, when you have the employee of the military being harmed and told that their water is okay and that the impact would be insignificant to the family, then you get this relationship issue because the spouse at home with the family, with the pets, you're saying if you put my child in the bath one more time, and then the service member saying, I was told it's fine, stop, then you get that huge, it really affected relationships.
For sure. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to learn more about how this affects everybody. How can folks stay connected with you folks, or how can they learn more about this survey?
Oh, well, easily. We have a website, redhillregistry.org. Our information is largely on there. We're building the website, as we learn more and as we need to build. So we have tabs for media and employment. And of course, our current push right now is for pre-enrollment. So that is our landing page.
And for more information, this is also available on our IG page. You can visit us on KTUH FM on IG. We're going to take a quick break. Keep it locked to KTUH, the only radio station that loves you. Aloha no, you're listening to DJ 101 KTUH Honolulu 90.1 FM, Wailua 91.1 FM, channel 866, Spectrum Digital Cable, and also streaming live on KTUH.org on the World Wide Web. If you're just joining us right now, we are talking about the Red Hill Registry and how you or if you know someone that's been exposed, how you can register for this as well. I want to reintroduce everybody in the room as well, because we have had some new additions.
I'm Rosanna Weldon, also known as Sonny. I'm the director of the Red Hill Registry.
My name is Tara Sutton. I'm the director of community engagement for the Red Hill Registry.
Aloha, my name is Ryan Milkey. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing for the Red Hill Registry.
And so I want to pose this question to you folks is, again, yes, we know that some people will say that there is not any fuel. Why does this conversation matter? Because there's so many different points of views. You hear some conversations of 20 parts per million, and that's okay. And I'm like, what does 20 parts per million mean? And then we have other people like Dawn, and you see the Dawn commercials and cleaning like the ducks, and you think that's going to be just fine. Why is this conversation incredibly important?
There are many reasons that this is important, but mostly is that we don't know the long-term health impacts of jet fuel in humans who ingested it through their drinking water. But also there are larger questions about who is exposed and what does it mean to be exposed. And
I've had those because for me, like we were talking in the break, I don't drink any water from this district. It's a conscious fact that I do not. I would never get in the water in this district. I've fished but I still don't even touch the fish. Like I've seen people wear gloves when they're even. I'm like, what's the point of even fishing at that point? So again, where for the germaphobe in me, how can I know if I'm exposed?
That's a difficult question, and also partly personal. Some of it is geography related. We know that this is an incident that happened on Oahu, but also that's one thing we're trying to find out here with the Red Hill Registry. As we're in our community-driven developmental phase, we have our pre-enrollment questionnaire up on our website, redhillregistry.org. And what we're trying to find out as part of that pre-enrollment questionnaire is who was exposed, how were you exposed, describe when you were exposed, so that we can gauge better who are the people who feel they were exposed, and also to try to stay connected with this community since it's been 3 years since this exposure happened.
And so can we talk a little bit about that timeline?
Well, the timeline that we know the most about is the fuel spill that occurred in November of 2021, November 20th, 2021. And that's when about 14,000 gallons of jet fuel was spilled, and that fuel entered the drinking water. So we know that the first reports of health complaints, they started to come in within days of that fuel spill. Those were like calls to the Poison Control Center and visits to emergency departments with health complaints. And when you do call the Poison Control Center with the same complaint, when it gets up to a threshold of 30 calls, a sentinel event is triggered. And that's when the State Department of Health starts to become alerted to these things. And that's when they start really looking at, well, where are these calls? There are really cool maps, actually, that show that these calls were literally centered around Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam. And that's super important information for the state because then they can act, right? They know, oh, there's something going on with the water there. And that's when sort of the health story starts and the path towards the registry starts too.
And I think it's also important to note who is the funder of this particular study, yeah?
The funder is very important to know. We are effectively funded by the Department of Defense. But there are a lot of layers between DOD and us. We are considered an independent health registry. Everybody considers us that, even DOD. So even Defense Health Agency, Public Health has considered this independent from DOD from the beginning. So the way that the funding works is that we're funded through the National Center for Disaster Medicine and Public Health, which is under the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences. And then they have an arm called the Henry M. Jackson Foundation that is actually the, holder of the funds.
Mm-hmm. Right on. And then, so talk to me a little bit about what you hope folks do for this study. Obviously, they want to register. Okay, so let's back up. Let's say that I think I've been exposed. I go to the website. You can also find it on KTUH FM. I fill out the questionnaire. Then what happens?
I should probably back up for a minute. I should probably tell you what our goals are, what we're trying to do with this Red Hill Registry. First and foremost, we're trying to track individuals and their health status so that we can answer these really important questions of what is the long-term health effects of this sort of exposure. But the only way, we can do that is if people start to engage with us through things like this pre-enrollment system. But also what we're trying to do is to develop a referral program so that we can connect people with needed resources. Now, those are still, we're trying to define them right now. Tara has been really good at some community engagement pieces where we're trying to narrow down what these areas of need are for our referral program. And then, of course, we're developing education programs to help to educate not only people who were exposed directly in the community at large, but also specifically their healthcare providers, so that when people go in to their doctors, and now that it's been 3 years and they could live anywhere in their world, their doctors aren't necessarily going to know what happened at Red Hill. And so it's an important piece of our program as well.
So I have a question. When I fill my information out in this registry, what happens to it? Is it safe? Are there identifiable markers?
Yes, we are definitely asking for your contact information, your name, your email address. We want to have a way to contact you when we are open for full enrollment, and our full baseline questionnaire will be available to you. But it is safe. It is in encrypted database. It is actually HIPAA compliant, even though it technically doesn't need to be. But our partners, University Health Partners of Hawaii, who have worked closely with the John A. Burns School of Medicine for a long time now, they are the ones who are actually holding the data.
Excellent. Right on. I want to understand a little bit more about how you feel about what the work that you folks are doing.
For me, it's incredibly personal. I drank the water. I got very sick. My kids got sick. I encouraged them to drink more water because when you have a headache, you think, oh, honey, just drink more water. You're probably dehydrated. My pets got sick. My husband got sick. I had my niece and her husband living with me with 3 children ages 6 to 9, and they all got sick. And we all encouraged each other to take more baths because the skin was irritated, drink more water. This was something incredibly personal to me and my family. Immediately, the messaging that came out to myself and my family and my community was that the harm would be minimal, would not be long-lasting. The effects that we think we're having are probably psychosomatic because we're stressed out, and so we're just producing it within ourselves. And I knew that to not be true. I could see it in my children's eyes. I could see it in my great nieces and nephews. My cat wouldn't drink the water first. She would avoid it until she was so dehydrated she would take a few drinks and then she would throw up. So it's very personal. The one thing that I knew that I had a skill set to do is social science, talking to people, documenting stories in a way that allows truth to be told, almost like an oral history sort of approach. And being able to interview with my neighbors and document their stories and track what was happening right from the beginning was something that was incredibly moving. And I knew that my lane in this effort would be to work towards eliminating the statement, we don't know the long-term health impacts, because that statement may be true, but it was weaponized against myself.
Keep it locked to KTUH, the only radio station that loves you.
As I travel from place to place, some familiar and some strange, to hear the ancient chantings of our home. As I've listened to the stories, my eyes have seen the glory. So let us raise our voice in song to save our land. All Hawaii stands together. It is now and forever to raise your voices and hold your banners high. We shall stand as a nation to guide the destinies of our generations, to sing and praise the glories of our land. Within stone walls, the cities of barren slopes of Kaho'olawe to the shores of Kahana Bay. We shall claim our lands from the barking sands to the valleys of Hanalei. All Hawaii stands together. It is now and forever to raise your voices and hold your banners high. We shall stand as a nation to guide the destinies of our generation, to sing and praise the glories of our land. From the fiery pit of Tutupele, I hear my mother's call. Oh, Tutukane and Mauna Kea, send their love to all, to stand as one beneath the sun. Blessings from Haleakala for our sweet Kahala, and by Ale, where the greatest waters fall. Hawaii loa, kuli ke kako, kuba ame kalokahi e kukalame, ka viva le. Oni pa akako, alana kilana kini e ola, na kini e. Hawaii loa, kuli ke kako, kuba ame kalokahi e kukalame, ka viva le. Oni va akako, alana kilana kini e ola, na kini e. Hawaii loa, kuli ke kako, kuba ame kalokahi e kukalame, ka viva le. Oni va akako, alana kilana kini e ola, na kini e. Eola, na kini e. Eola, na kini e. Eola, na kini e. Eola, na kini e.
Aloha, no, you're listening to DJ Ono on KTUH Honolulu 90.1 FM, Wailua 91.1 FM, channel 866, Spectrum Digital Cable, and also streaming live on KTUH.org on the World Wide Web. If you're just joining us right now, we are speaking with the Red Hill Registry. And for more information, again, you can also visit our IG page, KTUH FM, and then it will have a link directly to the registry for you to register. I want to ask, can we re-explain what the pre-re-enrollment phase is and what is a participant to expect once they give you folks their information?
Yes, absolutely. So pre-enrollment is an opportunity for any person to, especially somebody who thinks, was I exposed? I'm not sure if I was exposed. I think I was in the area during this time period or even before or after. If they come to the pre-enrollment portion of our website, redhillregistry.org, then it will ask them questions going by date even. Were you in this region November 20th, 21st, 22nd? So even if somebody was here on vacation for Thanksgiving, having dinner with their family from out of state, then they can have their memory prompted with those exact dates and maybe talk about what they were doing. And then there are questions that ask about how they may have received exposure. Were you drinking the water? Were you showering in the water? But it also includes things like swimming in the pools on base, the splash pads on base. Were you watering your yard or your indoor plants or your herbs that you cook with? So it covers all of that so people can really dive into and help themselves think about, was I exposed? What did that look like? And document it for us. That way we can see what it is exactly we are working with and how we need to shape the registry to suit the needs of the people who are considering themselves impacted, because that's not something we can decide for somebody else. We need to hear from them because the water was everywhere and people use water in all kinds of ways every day of life.
I have a question. What's a splash pad?
A splash pad is a really cool thing. You run out on the sidewalk, there's holes in it, and water shoots up and you play.
You guys get those on base?
We've got a few of them on base.
Oh my gosh. We need to get a couple of those on campus. That's crazy. Never heard of this.
The other thing that's important for us right now as we're developing the registry is to understand where people are today. It's really hard for us to design our referral programs without understanding where in the world they are, and being potentially a military population or largely a military population, they literally could be anywhere in the world.
What's a referral for someone who may not understand what a referral is?
We're still developing that program, but we're thinking of it in terms of like, well, first we're gauging what do people need referrals to. So it's really hard to describe what the referral program looks like right now before we understand what they need. And so it could include, well, I'll let Tara elaborate, but...
Well, I'll start with one thing that a referral is not.
That's a good question.
I just want to take a step back because we know what referrals do, but let's think about someone who doesn't even know what a referral is.
Right. Well, referral can be defined in a lot of different ways, and our definition is still being formed.
Okay.
However, most people hear the term referral, especially when it comes to healthcare, and you think you go to your primary care doctor and they give you a referral to see a neurologist, and that immediately grants access to that neurologist. Your insurance is approved, everything. Most people think that's what a referral is. We're looking at referral as in more of a networking. Where are the neurologists in Germany? Where are the neurologists in Georgia? Where are the neurologists in New York? And what kind of specialists are even needed for this type of exposure? Some of the things that we do know is that there are a lot of neurological issues, there are a lot of GI issues, and there are a lot of skin issues. Beyond that, there's even more, but those are kind of some of the top ones, as well as mental health issues. And so just needing to, work through the trauma of the exposure and the way the crisis response efforts unrolled. So the referral network is more to tell people what kind of resources they may need to watch out for in their life. If they say, well, I was exposed, but I don't really know what's wrong. I don't know if my dizziness is related to the water I drank 3 years ago. But if they find out that so many people on the waterline have that same type of symptom, and they can see that within our referral network, or basically a networking network, then they can see, oh, maybe my dizziness is related. Is that an ear, nose, throat specialist I need to go talk to, or is that a neurological thing that I need to go talk to? And what distinguishes this kind of dizziness from that kind of dizziness? But all of that can't be done on our end until we see exactly what our population is dealing with, so that we can sort that out and figure out what people do need.
But it's also, the health piece is only one part of a potential referral program. I mean, Tara has been conducting focus groups and an online survey to try to figure out what the community needs. And can you share some of the other topics that are important to the community, Tara?
Yeah, the water exposure actually caused impacts to people's, children's education. And so there are families today who need resources to help their child with education. There are people who were impacted with their type of work that they're capable of doing and need to re-enter the workforce in a different area. Maybe they need adult education, or they just need retraining. So it impacts all of these areas. During the exposure, a lot of us were displaced and moved to a different location. And so there are people who are curious about their house today on the waterline. For example, I still live in the same house that I lived in 2021. So, people just moving in, are they being told about their water? Are they not being told about their water? Are they being told it's issue completely in the past and today you're fine, or are they being told, here's how you can look up your water test results in real time and see?
This is bizarre. like you're
so
telling
all
me
of
this
these
and I'm
resources.
Because it's interesting. We meet the new service members when they come, and that's one of the first things that I talk about. I'm like, you do know the water is poisoned, right? Like any tourist I see, you know the water is poisoned, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's the military, but then there's Capilina Beach homes, and anybody can live out there, and whether or not they're being told. And that's a different, landlord, if you will, air quotes, than what maybe I experienced living on the base.
This is just bizarre and so scary in so many ways. How can folks support this initiative? I mean, because honestly, you folks are definitely hitting roadblocks. There's no way, even though whoever your employer is who's funding you, yeah.
The DOD, the funding coming from the DOD, obviously that's a double-edged sword. There's trust issues between the community and the Department of Defense, the military, the Navy, in this area. So there are concerns with that, but at the same time, they're being held fiscally responsible for something that they created, and that's a good thing. How can we hope for change if people aren't held responsible for their actions? And so it is a good thing, and the communication that happens between the DOD and us, it's pretty much they give us the information that they want us to have, and then we work within our scope. They don't have unlimited access to everything that we've collected. So what we are asking from the community is to do the pre-enrollment form. The only personally identifying information that we request is your name and contact information. No social security numbers at this time, nothing like that. And so the data that we get will then, where were you on the water line? What dates were you here on the water line? What types of exposure do you think that you experienced? That will help us to kind of understand exactly how our community was impacted, at least for the 2021 fuel spill, because that's the one that we know the most about. But if people were here in 2014 and not for 2021, still fill out the pre-enrollment form. There are questions that will pertain to you. Maybe you moved here in 2022, still fill out the pre-enrollment form. There are questions that pertain to you. That gives us a really big picture so that we know exactly what we're looking at. And as we shape the formal enrollment mid this year, I almost said next year, we hit the new year, didn't we? When we hit full enrollment, then we'll be able to reach back out to these same people, but also hopefully more, and be able to have a registry that caters to the needs of this actual population.
Really importantly, though, spread the word. It's so important for anybody who does know about the registry to share this information with all of their networks. Follow us on our social media, Red Hill Registry. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and X. And go to our website, redhillregistry.org.
What's your handle on those socials?
Red Hill Registry.
Right on.
Yeah, super, super easy. And you guys, there's so much information that we're going to be putting out about what we do. Follow us. There's not a lot there right now, but there's going to be so much. We want you to be part of that conversation.
Right on. Keep it locked to KTUH. We'll be right back.
Mysteriously, beautifully, saw you and your friends standing across from me. Capture up your glimpse actions nervously. Blessings bloom all around you, here I sing. Your humble beauty and your feminine drive, I'm on crazy. Even when I see you from afar, still look pretty. This is the natural attraction from a man to a darling. Nuts are fruit from the birds and the bees root from Madame Honey. Miss Beautiful Mysterious, causing I and I to go delirious. Unknown beautiful mysterious, look at her and I man and see how them sober. Miss Beautiful Mysterious, causing I and I to go delirious. Unknown beautiful mysterious, check her and I man and see how them sober. Honest looking, never gonna see you as a tool. Treat you with respect, I am not a fool. Every day, go home by getting your luck. Next day, gloves upon your face and shampoo. This is not a joke, what I'm telling you is true. Yet I'm not in love, I don't care who. See your body splendor, body so fair. Love all the sunshine reflect up here. If there is any answer, please tell me where. To my question, never yet shared. Try to keep my strength, but you are my weakness. Yet when I pass on and by you, I put up no interest. You are my weakness, Miss Beautiful Mysterious. Causing I and I to go delirious. Unknown, beautiful, mysterious. Look at her and I, man, I see how them sober. Miss Beautiful Mysterious. Causing I and I to go delirious. Unknown, beautiful, mysterious. Check her and I, man, I see how them sober. Miss Beautiful Mysterious, causing I and I to go delirious. Unknown, beautiful, mysterious. Look at her and I, man, I see how them sober. Miss Beautiful Mysterious, causing I and I to go delirious. Unknown, beautiful, mysterious. Check her and I, man, I see how them sober.
Aloha no, you're listening to DJ Ono on KTUH, Honolulu 90.1 FM, Wailua 91.1 FM, channel 866, Spectrum Digital Cable, and also streaming live on KTUH.org on the World Wide Web. If you're just joining us right now, we are talking about Red Hill, the pre-registry that's opening, and lots of very interesting things and things that I never considered. And I want to talk about the credibility around all of this. I mean, your folks are doing a lot of collaborations. Talk about that. Tell us a little bit about who those partners are.
Have a very well-rounded team. The registry is actually housed within the Office of Strategic Health Initiatives. The principal investigator is Dr. Amy Grace, and so that's actually at the UH system level. But we have strong partners in the Office of Public Health Studies at UH Manoa. We have the John A. Burns School of Medicine people there. In fact, you may even know Lee Wenconsejo Lam, and they're helping primarily with the referral program and the education pieces of what the registry will provide. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier the University Health Partners of Hawaii. They are our IT specialists, effectively, and that's also our Red Hill Registry office is adjacent to their office in Kaka'ako. We also have partners in the Water Resources Research Center, and that's really important because some of the people who were in that center were actually directly in communication with the affected community shortly after the spill, and they were in the homes helping to screen the water for jet fuel. So they have strong community connections.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, because during the break we were talking about other just subpopulations like deceased folks and divorcees. I really want to touch on that one particular topic of deceased folks. So let's say that I'm Hanaid and my mom passed away. Would I be able to fill this questionnaire out on her behalf?
Yes. The pre-enrollment questionnaire has the opportunity for people to fill the form out for themselves or for somebody else, and then they can indicate who that is. So if you have a loved one who was here for that exposure, but they're no longer with us, you can fill the form out on their behalf.
Right on. And then as far as divorcees, how does that particular...
Yeah, that's actually a question that I have been hearing. If you were here during the exposure and maybe a spouse like myself of an active duty service member or a guardsman or whoever, and maybe there was a divorce. You don't need the military sponsor in order to fill out the pre-enrollment form because it is completely independent. This is through the university, not the Department of Defense. So everybody who was on the waterline can fill the form out for themselves, a divorced spouse. Even like my children, when they were exposed, they were 17, 18, and now they're aged out and they are not a part of the military healthcare system. They can fill the pre-enrollment form out for themselves as well.
I think that's incredibly important to note, again, especially for yourself. If you catch yourself in this particular situation, it's really important to note that you made a distinction that this is done through the university, not the DoD. And so going back to speaking of the funder of this particular, they may be funding this project, but they are not.
Right. They took fiscal responsibility, but they are not overseeing the day-to-day.
Yeah, so I think that's important really to talk about, again, to build that trust, because again, this conversation is a lot about trust, and it's about transparency, and everything that I've learned in my master's program right now. Transparency builds trust.
Our whole registry is, we always say it's being co-developed with the community every step of the way, and we're trying to move at the speed of trust, as Dr. Amy Grace likes to say. And really, we need the impacted community to help us build the best registry for them, and pre-enrollment is a big piece of that.
And I think it's important to understand exactly what you said. It's for us.
Yes.
It's an us thing, a kako thing. So it's a everybody kind of thing. And so again, redhillregistry.org. And again, if you do not want to go through the full pre-enrollment process, it looks like you can still subscribe to their email listserv to receive regular updates about news about the Red Hill Registry.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So what would be the difference from registering and just getting updates?
There are a lot of people who are just interested in this story. So they may not be impacted, they may not be exposed, but they want to be kept abreast of what's going on, what we're doing. They just want to be knowledgeable. And so you can subscribe for updates when we have information to provide to the larger community.
Yeah, and if I could just jump in on that, you had asked us earlier, how could our community support us? That is exactly the way. Subscribe, get the information, share the information, share it with your backyard neighbor, your next door neighbor, your kids. It's very important to share their stories so that people know how to pre-enroll.
For sure. I do want to shift focuses just a little bit, because this has definitely been very heavy. This has been a lot. I want to ask, what do you hope individually that people take away from this? Because each one of you has a very different station in life. You obviously have a different difference of what brought you into this conversation. So speak to what your particular needs or asks or wants are, and please share that with the community. Like, what would you hope that they really take? Like with you, I think it really is your kids. I see that matriarchal like energy around you, and it's very different from with you. So that's what I want to bring, that human aspect into this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, the biggest personal takeaway for the community would just be that this is being created with and by community members. Being the director of community engagement, I drank the fuel. So as I have gone through the years and talked with my neighbors, even if they weren't literally my neighbors, we consider each other neighbors, even if they were on the other side of the harbor over in Capilina. We were neighbors now, and we all call each other the Red Hill family. There are people that I've met that are very much family to me, and we stay in touch no matter where they're at in the world at this point. And the one thing I would want people to take away is that this can't happen without their participation. It takes all of us to remove that statement, we don't know the long-term impacts of health or on health from jet fuel. So that's my biggest, is we all need to come together again.
So for me, the biggest attractor to this project is making sure that we do something for our community. My entire career has been based on helping our community. If you live in Hawaii, I think you have a responsibility to know what's going on around you, to know water issues, to know land issues, to know human rights issues. These are all important to what we do, and it's something that compelled me to be part of this project.
So for me, I mean, I do take a bit of a science lens to it. And so I do want to be able to learn more about the long-term health impacts of exposure to jet fuel from ingestion, and to understand, what we need to know for, the future for our young people who were exposed, because we just don't know the answers to those questions. And so I think it's also... jet fuel is, it's not just this one Red Hill problem. It's actually a huge exposure throughout the military, a huge exposure throughout the world. And so this is a horrible situation that I'm hoping to turn to knowledge and information that can help people in the future.
Ayo. I definitely just want to echo everything that you folks said, but I definitely want to also, for our listeners, to really take a moment, and you may know someone. We all know someone that was here around that time, and they may no longer be here, and this information might be valuable to them. So this may be an opportunity for you to help somebody. So take that opportunity. Last question for everybody, our last 5 minutes. If you could have dinner with someone from the past, who would it be and why? And what food would you have? I'm going to make it island specific. What food from Hawaii would you have? So who would it be from the past? Why them? And what would you eat?
Gosh.
You know what? This is really weird, and I don't even understand it, but for some reason I would love to have a meal with Abraham Lincoln. I don't know why he fascinates me. And if I were to bring him to Hawaii, I feel like his mind would be blown by what was here. So I feel like I want to have something like poke with Abraham Lincoln.
I could definitely see the baffled in them as well.
Gosh, I think if I could have a meal with somebody in my past, this doesn't reach far, but my father has passed away. I would have one more meal with my father, and I would bring him here, and I would show him the work that I'm doing and how I'm trying to provide for his grandchildren. I don't know, the food that I would serve would probably be sushi.
So I'm going to keep it in line with the family connection. I'm going to go with my great-great-grandfather, who I never knew, but he's really a legend. He's had books written about him, but his entire life was based on helping the little guy, helping the disadvantaged, helping the community. And I would just love to sit down and have a big fat barbecue sandwich with that guy. So anyway.
You've been listening to Real Talk. Aloha.
Destination, darkness is quite near, feeding sunsets through your ears, and tide is rising, drought is non-existent, sins are washed away, all the faults that you were facing. Sunset chaser, where's your new location? Searching for a purpose, the truth is making you nervous, and sunlight's waiting, there's a happy ending, picture perfect skies, does your life have any meaning? Oh, darling, don't you cry no more, as the sun will soon shine 1,000 times. Don't you worry, dear, dark clouds will soon clear for you. Daylight saver till the next adventure. Love is all around, but you're focused on the frowning. Rays are burning, a chemiluminescence, feeling through the gloom, tense and patient for its blooming. Oh, darling, don't you cry no more, as the sun will soon shine 1,000 times. Don't you worry, dear, dark clouds will
Darling, don't you cry no more. As the sun